R2, real numbers and their properties. So these problems, they start out with just evaluating the expression. So we have something like number 18, -3 raised to the 5th power. What does that tell us that we're doing? Sort of. So this one is a little bit tricky, okay? Because it's not in parentheses, we're actually multiplying the 3 5 times. The negative is only on there once. So this one is going to end up being the same thing as negative, and then 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 would be what that looks like. And that's why I show this, because this is different in terms of how this is written. If this was instead written as -3 to the 5th, then it would be -3 times -3 times -3. Okay, like and so on. But this one, the negative is not being raised to the power, only the 3 is. So, what is that? 81 times 3. $243, I think. Something like that. So that would be -243. $22. We have -2 in parentheses raised to the 5th. So what does that tell me to do now?
Multiply -2 by itself 5 times.
Yep. So we're going to do -2 times -2. So the difference in number 18 and number 22 is the parentheses. Okay, so that's what makes the difference for it. So ignore the negative for the moment. What's 2 to the 5th power? 32. And a negative raised to the 5th power would be what? Negative. So anytime you have a negative number raised to an odd power, it's going to be negative. If it's raised to an even power, it's going to be positive. Um, 26. We have 9 times 3 minus 16 divided by 4. So we have to make sure that we follow our order of operations here. So what would I do first? Yeah, left to right, multiplication and division happen simultaneously, so we always do it left to right. So first the multiplication, so 9 times 3 is 27. Then I'm going to do the minus sign. What's 16 divided by 4? 4. So it's always left to right, just whichever one comes first. And then finally we can do the minus, so 27 minus 4 is 23. Let's see, 30. In parentheses, we have 5 minus 3 squared. Close the parentheses. Another parentheses, the square root of 16 minus 2 cubed. So what do order of operations tell me I have to do with this one? What's the very first step?
Either powers.
Sort of, but what's the very first? What is the P in PEMDAS for? Parentheses. So we have 2 different parentheses, so I'm going to work in each one first, and then we'll combine the stuff together. So within that parentheses, then we have exponents, right? That's the next thing. And I'm assuming that's why you were saying to do that. You were just automatically going with the parentheses stuff. So what is this? 9. So this is going to be 5 minus 9. over here. You can, like, square roots can kind of be, like, included in, like, the powers because we can rewrite square roots as a power. So what's the square root of 16? 4 minus, what's 2 cubed? 8. And then work individually in here. So 5 minus 9 is negative 4. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So I multiply that and I get positive 16. So these next few, we're still evaluating the expression, but they tell us like what values for P, Q, and R are. And then we have to use those to plug in and solve the stuff out. So get this focused back. Okay. So they tell us for these next problems, so for 35 through 48, they tell us that P is equal to negative 4, Q is equal to 8, and R is equal to negative 10. So 38, we have P plus R over P plus Q. So what I do is I just take the numbers that they gave me and I plug them in, and then I'm just going to simplify it down as much as possible. So negative 4 plus a negative 10, and then over negative 4 plus 8. So what does that give me on top? Yep. And what about the bottom? Yep. And can I reduce it? What is it reduced to? Yep, negative 7 over 2. I had a class ask me yesterday if something can be reduced, should I reduce it? And I was like, always. So always, always, always see if you can reduce things down. So we want it to be as simple as possible. A little bit harder one. 46 negative, and then in parentheses Q minus 6, and then they square that whole parentheses, minus 2P divided by 4 minus P. So I use the same numbers to plug in. So I'm going to have negative 8 minus 6 squared minus 2 times negative 4 divided by 4 minus a negative 4. So what do I need to do with this one? So what is that going to give me? And you can go ahead and like do it to the power or whatever. Yep, so 8 minus 6 is 2, 2 squared is 4, and we don't want to forget the negative sign that's out front, so that's going to be negative 4. What's negative 2 times negative 4? Positive 8. Divided by, what is the bottom equal to? 8. Minus a negative. I just put it in parentheses so that you could see that I plugged in a negative 4. So that's going to be positive 8. So then I have negative 4 plus 8 would be 4 over 8, which reduces to 1/2. Any questions on those ones? Pretty self-explanatory. All right, then the next one say to identify the property illustrated in each statement. Assume all variables represent real numbers. So 50, we have 8 times m plus 4 is equal to 8m plus 32. So what property are we using to get from the left side to the right side? You might have to look at the little chart in your notes. Which one?
Distributed.
Yep, distributive. And that's all you have to do for those ones is just say what the property was. 56. -7 plus, in parentheses, x plus 3 equals x plus 3 plus -7. And they write it that way just so that the negative isn't getting all mixed up. What property gets us from the left side to the right side? I'll explain why it's not that one in a second. Notice what they did. How did they get from here to here? What did they do with the two terms? They flipped them. So which one of the properties deals with them being flipped? Yep, commutative.
Oh, okay, I see.
So if it had been associative, it would have taken this parentheses and moved it over, and it would have been like -7 plus x in parentheses and then plus 3. That would have been what would have made it associative. The next ones are simplifying questions. So 64, we have 3/4 r times -12. So how would I simplify that?
Distributed. So how do you simplify it?
No, you're just, I mean, technically, yes, you're using properties, but we're not, that's not what this is asking. Yeah. Everything you do in math technically uses a property, but we don't look at it like that. Or if I just gave you that, how would you combine that?
Let's say use distributed. You just multiply.
Just multiply them, yes. So what would that multiplying give you? -36r over 4, and then can I reduce that? What would that give you if you reduce it?
-8 over.
Close.
-9.
Yep, -9r.
Good job, Trayvon. What time does this class end?
In a couple minutes. 78. These ones say to decide whether the statement is true or false. If false, correct the statement. So 78, we have the absolute value of, in parentheses, -3 cubed is equal to negative absolute value of 3 cubed. Is this statement true or false?
False.
Why?
Because the absolute value make the negative switch or flip.
Yeah, absolute value makes the negatives go away. It makes everything positive. So what we would have to do to make this a true statement would be to say that we move this negative sign inside, and then it would become positive. So this is false. 80. The absolute value of -14 divided by the absolute value of 2. And That's equal to the absolute value of 14 divided by 2. Is that true or false? Yes, that is true. All right, I'm going to go ahead and write down the problems, but it's Wednesday, so obviously no homework. Tomorrow I'm going to give you the first bit of class, kind of like we did today, to work on it. Eventually we'll get to where we're like, whatever. But that's also why I had you go ahead and do R3 notes, so that way they'll be done. So.
If you want to, can we do it as homework? Not as homework, but like do it.
Like do it tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care, but tomorrow, if everyone's done, we're going to start the next section. So the problem, so go ahead and write these down so you have them, so I don't have to put them back up tomorrow. 17, 23, 29, 39, 47, 51, 65, and 81.
Can I go get my phone back?
Yes. Also, what class do you have next?